Continuing with our discussion on different categories of elementals in the heat model, we will today take a look at that category of elementals, that is, which I call as faculty elementals. Faculty in the sense we have a faculty for thinking, a faculty of imagination. In that sense, the word faculty is being used here. So let us take a look at the faculty elementals, this category of elementals. Before that, let's revise what we did. We said all elementals in heat model can be categorized into three broad categories: structural elementals, process elementals, and freedom elementals. Second category of process elementals can be further subdivided into motivational elementals, generic operational elementals, faculty elementals, characteristic, resultant, and accumulating. Today we are going to discuss about faculty elementals. And as you can see, you can divide all elementals into two categories, structural and functional. So when we use the word process elementals, essentially we mean functional elementals. And this together, both of them together, structural and process elementals, create a structural model. And to complement the structural model, because we are having an open structural model, we have freedom elementals. So let us take a look at what the faculty elementals are. Faculty elements are five: faculty of thinking, faculty of imagination, faculty of intuition, faculty of vision, and a transpersonal faculty. Thinking, we already know, it is a faculty which is used in the psychological process in two ways. First is in evaluating a stimulus and evaluating rest of the context in which the desire arises, so that a decision can be made how much effect the system has to load onto the desire, and in a structural sense on the chakra where the desire is, or any location where the desire is. So any structure in which the desire resides, on that structure we load affinity, and how much affinity is to be loaded is determined by a very fast unconscious thinking process, which is an evaluative process to decide how much affinity should be loaded. And then once the affinity is loaded, the faculty elemental again is used to plan out action. In case of fantasy generation, the stimulus is coming from inside and not outside. The desire activation happens and there is no outside stimulus, but other factors of desire activation are in place, and they get evaluated by a thinking faculty to arrive at how much affinity should be loaded. Imagination is yet another faculty, and One of the major elements of it is this concept of the surreal, which is based upon two essential entities, imagination and affect. Three actually, imagination, affect, and exaggeration, intensification, or historicity, as you wish to call it, dramatization. We'll see how imagination is so important in the, not only in usual thinking process, but also in the surreal, which is so important in understanding the psyche. Then we have intuition, then we have vision, should write here, creativity. Thinking, imagination, intuition, creativity, and transpersonal elements. One of the transpersonal elements can be vision. These are the faculties that people have. In most cases, the transpersonal element is very subtle or insignificant, and we have these four faculties. But in some cases, this becomes quite a powerful faculty through which inputs are received, processed by the individual. Intuition is a kind of a psychological process where one knows without going through the classical thinking process of problem identification, alternatives, what are the available resources, what is plan B, nothing of that type. And this is very different from reflex. So reflex also is a faculty. You can actually both of them there. So we can have the seven as faculties. These are faculty elementals: thinking, imagination, intuition, which is knowing without going through the normal process, regular process of information processing. We just know by intuition. It can be developed, and it's very common in spirituality to develop this sense of intuition, where intuitively you know something. And even otherwise, when somebody presents to us event and the explanation of event, we have an intuitive sense of whether what is being presented to us is a true explanation or not a true explanation. There is a intuitive perception of truth, intuitive sensing of truth, sensing, intuitive sense of truth. Then creativity, of course, is a very important faculty. Reflex, that also is a faculty, which is slightly different from intuition, although it looks like one. It comes more from below than from above. And below, by that we mean more of the embedded intelligence, where already pre-thought out patterns are present in deeper parts of the unconscious. Then we have this faculty of vision, which again not everybody has. In fact, you can put it as a part of transpersonal also. At times it is not transpersonal, and vision is something which just comes to us without having really worked hard for the quality of vision with which it comes, at which it comes. And then we have the transpersonal elements of something that we have not experienced but we know. It may be Jung's collective unconscious or the transpersonal intergenerational traumas that we have, but there is a transpersonal knowing, and there is also a parapsychological flavor of transpersonal knowing. So the transpersonal has three components: the Jungian transpersonal, the parapsychological transpersonal, and the intergenerational transpersonal. And all of these are very strong faculties. So these are the faculty elementals involved in it. As we go along, we will see how they work out in terms of the operation of the mind. There are two types of thinking. One is the ordinary thinking that we do, maybe conscious or unconscious, and the second is evaluative thinking. They should not be confused. Unconscious evaluative thinking and unconscious ordinary thinking are two different things. The evaluative thinking unconsciously, which is responsible for evocation of life energy, of deposition of affinity, or to decide how traumatic or pleasant something is, that is very different from rest of the thinking. We need actually different words for it. Evaluative thinking, unconscious thinking, and conscious thinking. At least these three categories, and then we can subdivide these categories further. But at least three different words we need. Evaluative thinking, which is at the root of the psychological process. And then we have ordinary unconscious thinking and ordinary conscious thinking. When we go into the depth of affect generation, we will see how evaluative thinking works. For the moment, we just introduce these variables. Thank you.